I've been working with this one for many years and have rewritten it several times as life continues to unfold. When I first began speaking about love, I encountered a profound challenge because there are aspects of love that exist far beyond the reach of intellect and words. Yet to reach the heart where true understanding awaits, one must often pass through the mind first, and most minds are closed off to new and different information. With that in mind, I'll once again attempt to stimulate the intellect, not to convince it or control it, but to invite it to momentarily soften its roles as ego, survivalist, guardian, opinionator, and gatekeeper, so that perhaps it may step aside and allow access to the heart of being for a moment. That said, let's begin by looking at just a few out of many of the natural laws that seem to govern reality. These are principles and patterns that echo across all planes of existence, linking the seen and the unseen. Starting off with one of my favorites, the law of correspondence. That which is above is like that which is below, and that which is below is like that which is above. Hermes Trismegistus, or more commonly known as above, so below. There is a correspondence between all objects, functions, events, thoughts, and phenomena stretching across all planes of existence. Patterns repeat through both the outer world and the inner world. One may contemplate the universe in a wind and rainstorm, a seemingly simple puddle of water, a flower, or even a single human cell. Everything is born from out everything else. Plants, insects, animals, and humans are brought into the world by others of their kind. Each cell arises from another cell. All life is born of the earth, and the earth itself is born of the universe, and the universe in turn arises from intelligent energy, and intelligent energy arises from intelligent infinity, what one may call the infinite creator, or source, or consciousness, whichever it is you prefer. For those with the eyes to see, this law reveals itself continuously, even in the seemingly mundane. Open a fruit or vegetable, or study a tree, its canopy, trunk, roots, leaves, and stems, and you may notice that it mirrors human anatomy. Viewed from above, the world's rivers closely resemble the cardiovascular system of the body. Or consider fractal formations such as the Mandelbrot set, Julia set, and Sierpinski triangle, mathematical expressions that reveal self-similar patterns repeating across existence. Fractal-like patterns can be observed in plants and fruits, blood vessels, lungs, eyes, organs, lightning storms, coastlines, and galaxies, forms that emerge through ongoing cycles of expansion and contraction, integration and disintegration. Through fractals, the laws of rhythm, vibration, and correspondence become visibly apparent, showing how simple rules give rise to immense complexity across worlds. Let's use computers and video games as another example of the law of correspondence. Video games are simulations of real-world activities, characters, and environments. Game programming, the act of coding a game, is the process of writing instruction that tells a computer or console how to create and run these virtual worlds. Programmers use languages and tools to define a game's logic, mechanics, physics, graphics, sound, and user interface. Players experience these worlds through light, pixels forming environments, characters, dialogues, choices, actions, and reactions. An understanding of computer science, software engineering, mathematics, and physics combined with skillful coding determines how immersive and pleasing the experience is to the senses. At their core, video games, like all software, are built on binary code, a system of information repeated using zeros and ones, which the computer interprets to execute instructions and create the gaming world. In a similar, though not identical way, the physical universe appears to be constructed from its own form of code. it operates according to underlying mathematical principles and forces that can be measured and described through equations, much like a gaming world is written in a programming language. In this sense, the universe can be viewed as a kind of simulation, a constructed rule-based experience that presents itself as physical reality. We can take this analogy further through biochemistry. Here the code is genetic. DNA functions as an information system that determines how amino acids assemble into proteins and how traits and characteristics of the physical body are expressed. Cells follow instructions, respond to signals, and carry out processes in ways strikingly similar to how information unfolds within a technical simulation. Notice that when you get cut, trim your hair, or lose a fingernail, the body restores itself according to stored information, what could just as accurately be called code. Seen in this way, life itself appears as coded information in motion, patterns of intelligence playing themselves out across matter, energy, light, and consciousness. Everything reflects everything else. You know the other because you know the self. You know the creation because you know the self. You know the mind of the prime designer because you know the self. All things exist in relationship. It is no accident that every outer event and experience can become a metaphor, a tool, or, even more profoundly, a mirror through which inspiration, guidance, and healing unfolds within. As without, so within. As the universe, so the self. As the infinite creator, so the finite creator. The law of rhythm. All things exist in rhythm, rotation, and flow. Reality unfolds through cycles and tempos of energy and information from the nanoscale to the macroscale. The sun rises, the sun sets. The tides ebb, the tides flow. Plants grow in pulsating, spiraling geometries, expanding accordingly to frequency and rhythm, patterns famously expressed through the Fibonacci sequence where leaves, stems, buds, and petals follow a proportional mathematical order. The mind, emotions, and body have their rhythms as well. The lungs inhale and exhale. The heart beats, the blood flows. Subtle energetic states shift through morning, afternoon, evening, and night. As evening approaches, the body and mind naturally attune to a settling creation. During sleep, consciousness moves through non-REM and REM cycles, traversing inner planes and dreamscapes. In waking life, the mind oscillates between frequency states, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma. Our emotions, thoughts, and relationships also move in rhythm. No one could survive in a constant state of anger or stress. Like storms or seasons, emotional states come and go. There are natural cycles of catalyst, conflict, joy, sorrow, and love, waves that rise and fall, shaping and refining consciousness over time. If one is in a continuous state of stress and anger, then one falls out of harmony, which can then create disorder in the body and in the being. Left unchecked, illness can arise. All rhythm serves as the evolution of awareness. Everything moves, compensates, and reconfigures consciousness. All is in rhythmic becoming, or you could say rhythmic evolution. A child is born, the elderly pass on. Seasons come, seasons go. We come to physical reality, we return to the inner planes with more depth of experience. The law of polarity. Everything in creation exhibits polarity, from gravity and electricity to chemistry to the earth and moon and the motion of the planets. Polarity is woven into the fabric of physical reality itself. Even within your body, such as the electrical and anatomical polarity of the heart, all the way down to the cellular, atomic, and subatomic levels, polarity is present. Positive and negative charges, opposing forces, and dynamic interactions among cells and particles such as electrons and protons. To the seeker of truth, this understanding expands way beyond the physical and into the inner experience. Astonishingly, one begins to notice that the mind, emotions, and life experiences are also polarized. Situations, catalysts, behaviors, and thoughts carry out an attractive or repulsive, radiant or constrictive quality, pulling us toward or away from something and providing us with a positive or negative experience. There is also the state of neutrality or indifference, which I explore more deeply in my YouTube video titled Healing. From a metaphysical perspective, this experiential polarity arises from two fundamental orientations of consciousness, love and fear. In this way, the charge perceived in any experience is shaped not by the event itself, but by the state of awareness through which it is interpreted, alongside one's intentions. With this fundamental awareness, I'm feeling ambitious today, and I'm going to attempt once again to explain the unexplainable. And what might that be? Love, of course. And because love, in its entirety, is impossible to put into words, I will use the backdrop of fear to provide some contrast and to give a bit more shape, color, and tone to the nature of love. Throughout my journey, I've come to an understanding of love that continues to deepen and widen as I experience life. I've written about the mysteries of love now 3 times over the years, adding on to the old writings, and each time my understanding and my relationship with love has greatly evolved and matured. Thus is the dance of love with each being. We innocently assume that love comes from our emotions, that feelings equal love. But if that were so, love would be on the same wild roller coaster as our thoughts, rising and falling, up and down, endlessly as we process life. When our perception of love is left solely to the mind to generate, love becomes entangled with pain due to polarity, and can even become bound to resentment and hate. Can you really love someone one moment and then hate them the next? We might call this kind of love the love of the small self, or the ego self. Love that vanishes when life or others fail to give us what we want and expect. When love is derived primarily from the mind's conditioning and impulses, it is unwittingly fused with fear because of its potential for pain, and yet, love is the very thing that will help us to move forward should we remain conscious enough to access it. Love is the one thing that will help us grow in understanding and compassion for ourselves and others should we remain open to love's wisdom. Love is the one thing that will help us forgive others and ourselves should we remain open to love's grace. Love is the one thing that brings expansion, connection, joy, truth, and clarity back into our lives should we remain open to love's will. Love is the one thing that guides us through times of despair and darkness should we remain open to love's light. And now for those who wish to dive even deeper, I'll introduce a seemingly absurd paradox to sit with. Ultimately, love is all there is. Stories of fear come and go. Narratives of anger draws out other narratives of anger. Every story has a beginning, middle, and an end. But true love, pure love, is unmanipulated and unconditional. Love is just love, whether you feel it or not. Do you know that you love someone even when you can't feel it or mentally force it? Are you love, or are you the stories of love? You're both. However, one is ever fleeting and the other is unconditional, whole, and absolute. When all the layers of fear and fear's derivatives overlaying it are removed, love remains as the only true reality. Love is the one great original thought, from which all life and all distortions in consciousness arise. This is a profound challenge for the collective to grasp at its current level of awareness and beingness. Fear, anger, and hate are not separate from love. They are love that has become warped, misinterpreted, confused, and misrepresented. Ultimately, there is only love. Fear is simply love greatly stepped down and reconfigured. Or you could say, love distorted. Love distorted to fear masquerades as bravado. Love distorted to fear expresses itself as bullying. Love distorted to fear presents itself as control. Love distorted to fear manifests itself as narcissism. Love distorted to fear conveys itself as jealousy. Love distorted to fear disguises itself as rejection. Love distorted to fear experiences itself as embarrassment and shame. Love distorted to fear contorts itself as hate. Love distorted to fear understands itself as separate from others and from the universe. But it all starts and ends in love. In truth, it was always love. Love in all its beauty, compassion, acceptance, openness, harmony, and oneness. And love in all of its ugliness, selfishness, hatred, rejection, constriction, disorder, and separation. It's all one thing. After all, separation can only be facilitated within an environment of oneness. It's because everything is interconnected and in interrelationship that it is even possible to experience separation, polarity, and contrast. An opposite can only exist if both ends of the polarity are, in their entirety, the same thing. Just as each entity represents an individual wholeness. However, each entity also simultaneously forms a part of a superior whole, the grand scheme. A proton is part of an atom is part of a molecule is part of a cell is part of an organ is part of an entire living being, a living being is part of a species is part of a planet is part of a solar system is part of a galaxy is part of a universe is part of the infinite creator. The creator is the conscious aspect of infinity itself. And every being, including every human being, represents the universe becoming aware of itself. The principles of love and its painful contortions to fear are part of that grand dance. For a deeper exploration of oneness and consciousness, see my video titled Healing. To put this another way, imagine love as pure white light, equal to that of consciousness itself. Now imagine your inner being, that is to say, the mind-body-spirit complex, as a prism or crystal. As that light passes through you, it bends and refracts, splitting into a spectrum of colors and revealing hidden wavelengths. In this way, love moves through you and is you, yet becomes fragmented into different shades and tones as you experience and process life. On a healing journey, you begin to discover that the darker hues of anger, shame, rejection, unworthiness, lack, jealousy, fear, and hate can be processed, reconciled, transmuted, and redeemed back to their original state of light, healed, whole, and integrated. Seen in this way, love and hate are not separate. They are the same energy, expressed in different forms. Hate is love that has been deeply hurt, betrayed, abandoned, neglected, abused, and frightened. It wouldn't be possible to heal something if it is not one thing existing as a spectrum. Think about that. Fear, anger, shame, and hate, which seem so convincing and so real for so long, are simply experiential wavelengths of that light existing at the far end of the spectrum. Love is the one great original thought, expressed in all its beauty and wonder, or all its horror. So then, wouldn't the work be about becoming increasingly more conscious, learning to recognize and investigate the imbalances, blockages, contradictions, disharmonious perspectives that are brought about by the fears generated within oneself, which are revealed through the reflective nature of other selves, thus the relationship, and life's many catalysts? As you engage in this work, remember that fear is the root of all negative distortions. When perception is filtered through fear, clarity is not possible. This is where the work truly lies, because you cannot possibly see another or a situation clearly when viewing through the lens of fear. The bulk of fear is illusory, a story the mind creates and then feeds with energy and emotion, creating a kind of entity and personality of survival, not real. Yet, when unconscious, we identify with this entity. And you know it's not real because it can go away. That which can go when you tell the truth was never truly you in the first place. Fear becomes distortive when consciousness identifies with the signal rather than observing it and questioning it. When identified with fear, perception narrows, time collapses into urgency, the nervous system prioritizes survival over truth. The world is interpreted through threat rather than meaning. The world is interpreted through separateness rather than oneness. At this point, fear is no longer just information, it becomes a lens, where reality is filtered through separation, lack, danger, defense, and not belonging. A very clear way to imagine this is as the branching tree graph, or mind map, where fear sits at the root and progressively differentiates into more specific, more focused expressions as perception narrows. This visually displays how fear fragments consciousness. The core node on the graph starts with fear. This is the undifferentiated, primary fear, the moment consciousness identifies as separate from other, separate from the universe, vulnerable, or threatened. The first level, or branches, of fear are the first fragmentations of love. These are the primary archetypes of fear, which include fear of loss, fear of harm, fear of rejection, fear of lack, fear of uncertainty, fear of death and non-existence. The second group of branches, or avenues of experience and manifestations that become available once the first branches are activated are: when it's fear of loss, it manifests as abandonment, grief, jealousy, clinging/possessiveness, and control. When it's fear of harm, it manifests as worry, hypervigilance, anger, and aggression. When it's fear of rejection, it manifests as shame, unworthiness, people-pleasing, withdrawal, or being overactivated and becoming a beggar, so to speak, or seeking validation. By the way, rejection was, and still is, one of my biggest wounds I've been working through. When it's fear of lack, it manifests as scarcity mindset, envy, greed, hoarding, and possessiveness. When it's fear of uncertainty or death, it manifests as feeling insignificant, feeling of not belonging, being ungrounded, despair, yearning for meaning and connection, rigidity, controllingness, obsession, and overthinking. And a key thing to remember is that anxiety, defensiveness, self-serving behaviors, lying, being controlling, and depression can arise when any of these branches are triggered. And the third level branches are the ones that become the feedback loops that we are stuck in. Fear of loss often gives rise to control, which can then evolve into manipulation. And it's important to understand that the ego can experience loss or even a sense of death during something as simple as a meaningless argument. This is because its perceived and carefully curated reality feels threatened, which ultimately ends in that particular aspect of ego dying. In response, the ego seeks to regain control over a person, perspective, or situation, often resulting in manipulation. Fear of lacking control over a situation gives rise to anger, which then becomes projection. Note that anger is ultimately a lack of self-acceptance in the moment. Remember that one the next time you are angry. It will open up a whole new reality of self-discovery. Fear of lack becomes scarcity mindset, which gives rise to selfishness, competitiveness, dog-eat-dog mentality, and deceptive behaviors, thus solidifying more and more one's separateness in the universe. Uncertainty and fear of death gives rise to the fear of the unknown and a deep sense of vulnerability, which becomes insecurity, dogma, and a fear of life itself. At these levels, fear is no longer recognized as basic fear, but rather appears as personality, logic, ideology, self-protection, and self-rejection. And the unchecked fears will steer one's journey, steering one's destiny. That said, try to work with the primary archetypes of fear before they evolve into sub-fears and become the personality. Fear imprints itself at the level of perception, altering the frequencies through which consciousness experiences itself and the world. At the deepest levels of inquiry, this distortion of perception mirrors a deeper truth about reality itself. There is no such thing as truly solid, independent physical matter. Despite centuries of investigation, science has never directly observed solid mass in the way the mind assumes it exists. What appears as matter is revealed, upon closer examination, to be vast fields of energy, probability, and forces acting upon forces, patterns of vibration stabilized through interaction and observation. Solidity, then, is not a fundamental property of reality, but a perceptual conclusion generated by consciousness interpreting dynamic fields of light and energy. Relating this back to fear, fear not only distorts how we see ourselves and others, but echoes the very illusion of separateness that makes matter seem fixed, dense, and immutable. Remember that you are a localized stream of consciousness, tuned and dialed in precisely where you are. Your thoughts, perspectives, unhealed wounds, and conditioning all emit a vibration. Even the images you generate in your mind are composed of light, and that light gives rise to vibration. Without light, you could not perceive form, not even in the mind. You then assign story, emotion, and meaning to these inner visuals. Likewise, you perceive the world around you through light. Modern science has now reached the point of recognizing that photons, a fundamental quanta of light, are present within all physical matter. With the understanding that everything is, in some mysterious way, an articulation of consciousness and thought, this becomes increasingly compelling when the law of correspondence is applied to how the mind creates using light. Physicality is the final stage of manifestation. Before matter condenses into form, there exists an entire realm of unseen forces that precede and shape the emergence of material mass. Interestingly, this inner experiential understanding is beginning to echo in the outer language of science. Circling back to the nature of matter itself. When scientists set out to understand what physicality is made of, many were surprised and even disappointed to discover that their findings did not align with their assumptions. As they zoomed in, exploring ever deeper layers of physicality, they uncovered a progression of scale and structure, increasingly fundamental building blocks underlying everyday matter. This hierarchical system can be roughly arranged as follows: molecules, atoms, the atomic nucleus, protons and neutrons, leptons, and quarks. At the deepest level currently described by physics, quarks and leptons are considered the fundamental constituents of matter within the standard model of particle physics. Yet these entities are described as point-like particles, meaning that they are treated as having no spatial dimension, no size, and no volume. Once again, matter appears to be largely empty space, structured more by relationship and interaction than by substance. With this in mind, I believe that the next profound scientific paradigm, alongside recent discoveries in vibration, harmonics, sacred geometry, and fractal patterns, will evolve a deeper understanding of the nature of light, and in particular, metaphysical light, and how it serves as the true building block from which both the metaphysical universes and the inner planes are formed. But we don't have to look to particle accelerators and quantum physics to glimpse this truth. We encounter it every night. Here's something else astonishing to contemplate. This insight arrived one morning after a night of dreaming and sparked a long, unfolding process that led to one of my more significant spiritual awakenings. Your subconscious mind operates both in cooperation with and independent of your conscious mind. In the dream state, it constructs an entire world made of light. It creates people you have never seen before and recreates those you know. It weaves a narrative and uses your own emotions to give the experience texture, tone, and deeper meaning. Then it places you at the center of it all and renders you temporarily completely unaware, allowing you to explore and experience the world without conscious knowledge of its purpose. Now consider this. How might this mirror the day that you entered this life? I'll explore the mysteries of the subconscious mind and the nature of dreaming more thoroughly in another video. And just as the dream feels real until you awaken, fear feels true until consciousness steps back from identification. Fear is not the enemy. It is love light, misinterpreted through survival. So the next time you experience fear or one of its byproducts, remind yourself that truth cannot possibly be perceived while identified with fear. Fear distorts perception and causes a fundamental misinterpretation of what is actually transpiring. It is seductive and persuasive, capable of overtaking the self and pulling consciousness into a kind of survival-based hypnosis, one rooted in separateness, isolation, and rejection of other, ultimately, rejection of self. So break free from the impulses to fight, run away, fawn, cling onto, close off, or deny, and question your movements of mind. Some of you may have come face to face with some of your fears as my words excavate them hiding within. Don't react to fear's demands. Invite the fears to pull up a chair at the campfire and tell their stories. Here is rejection. Please tell me about yourself. Here is shame. How do you express yourself and why? Here is loss. You have a story and I would love to hear it. Here is threat to my perceived reality. Please tell me why it scares you so badly when you are challenged. I would like to insert here that you do not have to give up your beliefs or religion to grasp the information I put out. Stay right where you're at and just incorporate these teachings into your own faith. Because at the core of this system remains pure, infinite love. The work is in walking the matrix of mind until you've uncovered the truth awaiting at the center of your being. We came to the world of separation and polarity without a memory of where we came from and why we are here, to again and again unveil and touch the mysteries of love. We are not meant to feel love at all times. That is simply not why we are here. Ultimately, love cannot be controlled, captured, or pinned down. If it could, it would be conquered and hoarded for those who believe they have mastered the game of life. Love is alive, and it plays out across all planes of existence, the physical, the mental and emotional, and the metaphysical and spiritual. This is why it's impossible to fully put love into words. The actions and experiences of the living love are reflections and expressions of the totality that is love. We are transceivers of the light. We receive, transduce, and transmit love. And depending on our conscious distortions, we experience the world, both inside and out, through various lenses of love and fear. The good news is that these distortions are not fixed. They are continually being challenged and called back into resonance and equilibrium. If you can love and heal the anger, fears, and hate within you, then you can be of support to the anger, fears, and hate in another. You don't need to attempt to accept their fears or try to fix them. You just need to accept the fears within you. Now, with an understanding of positive and negative polarities, bright light and dark hues, high vibration and low vibration, the question then arises, which polarity will you choose to resonate with, fear or love? And finally, adding more to the mystery, when you tune yourself to look for love in every situation, every person, and throughout this astonishing existence, you begin to see the most profound and beautiful thing of all. Love is omnipresent. It is the energy of the creation itself. It is the universe, the dream of the Creator. I'll leave you with a few living questions, seemingly simple yet infinitely deep, capable of unfolding in unimaginable ways again and again along your journey through the octaves of experience and awareness. Now, with a deeper awareness of the nature of love, ask yourself, what do I have that I can say I truly own? What do I have that cannot ever be taken away? And finally, who am I?